Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to Live with Father SFC Defined. So glad that you could join me today. I'm excited about today. I'm excited about what we're going to continue talking about. You know, this week, this month, rather, we have talked about what got me here in the context of how did I end up here emotionally, mentally, what situation, what moment, what season, what time period got me to a point where I let it define me. And that's what we've been talking about over the past 2 weeks. I sort of kind of jumped the gun. Last week, some of you have asked about the Zoom that we thought was going to happen. I really thought last week was the third weekend, which meant this week would have been the fourth weekend. But we're going to plan the Zoom so that all of you who have been a part of this whole conversation this month will be able to chime in. And we're just going to do it and set it up. We'll send you a link this week, let you know how to call in. We're still going to start at 5 o'clock and still stay within that time frame, unless you guys choose to keep talking past the little 20, 30 minutes that we typically do on Live at 5. Also, I want to say thank you guys for everybody that purchased the fragrance leading up to Valentine's Day. I really appreciate that. I hope that you let me know what you think in all honesty, because it's only going to make us better. We're open to constructive criticism. I can say one thing: nobody asked for their money back, and everybody said they got it, the ones that we sent out. So I certainly am appreciative of that. If you remember, last week I gave you five things: awareness, acceptance, all of that stuff. We talked about that and we sort of kind of engaged. We're going to put that up on the screen so you can see that as we talk through this. We just talking about our mental state primarily. It's, just what got me here. And we're going to try to peel back some layers because some of you, I appreciate y'all so much for interacting with me and asking questions and making comments. I am certainly appreciative of that. But let's get started. I want to talk about the areas we had: acknowledge, acceptance, awareness, and then replace, and then repetition. So we've got the RRR except for one, and then well, the AAA, and then we got the two R's. But anyway, let's talk about, we didn't go into great detail. Did some more research, did some more intuitive thinking about some things that were said last week regarding these areas as it relates to mental health and emotional health. Let me say that we have, over the past few weeks, determined that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to have a counselor or a therapist. It's okay to talk to somebody. I need you to know that it is okay. If you feel like this world is caving in on you, reach out to somebody. There's somebody that will listen to you. We also made it very clear that you have to pick up on people's physical cues, body language and facial expressions, because oftentimes we masquerade behind a facade of smile when on the inside we're broken, we're hurting, we're very damaged. So those are two things that I do want you to keep in mind. So let's go into it. Let's look at awareness again. And I think it's so important that we are able to get there. Hey, can you give me acknowledge? That's the one that I want to start off with. Give me acknowledge. Let's start with acknowledge, because I think that before there can be any help, before anybody can help you, you yourself have to acknowledge that, one, you need help. You have to acknowledge that there is something down there deep within you that needs to be mended, that needs to be addressed, that needs to be given attention. So acknowledge is a key in getting better and figuring out what got you here to this place of desperation, this place of depression, this place of despondency, this place of just feeling like you're worthless. We have to acknowledge that. We have to get to that point. So once you go in, you have to realize that once you acknowledge it, and it could be multiple things, but we have to focus and hone in on things specifically. Say, for example, that if somebody's death put you in a place years and years ago, somebody's death put you in a place, go back and see. That's what we're going to focus on. Now, it could have been other things. It could have been a loss of a job or divorce or whatever. We need to figure out exactly what it is that got you here to this place where you feel like you can't pull it together anymore, where you feel like you can't make things work anymore. So that's the first thing. And please, by all means, I need you to chime in. For those of you that are watching, I need you to chime in. And don't forget to like and share this video. You can also do my YouTube channel too as well. I want you to go to CoreyAGraves.com, and I want you to subscribe to us so that we're going to put all that up at the end of the show. I just need you to do it. I need you to make sure that you do it. The next thing is acceptance. The next thing is acceptance. I need you to accept it. Acceptance. Like, it's okay. It's totally, it's okay. Like, it's totally okay. If you want other people to accept you, you got to first accept you. You've got to accept the good and the bad. You've got to accept the scars. You've got to accept the issues. You've got to accept these negative feelings, these negative beliefs, and say, look, this is me. This is where I am right now. You've got to accept it, because the only way that other people can accept you is if at first you accept you. Remember, I told you some time ago, first within, then without. first within, then without. So your healing has to begin on the inside before it can ever manifest on the outside. So we've got acknowledge, we're going to acknowledge our issues, and then we have acceptance. So yeah, I'm like, that period was a very, very dark period. And I know when I lost my mom, that was a very, very dark period for me. That was a very dark period. And it took me, and there's still some rippling effects of it. But when I go back and I accept the fact that I lost a mom, a dad, a brother, sister, all that stuff, she was all of that to me. How do I go back and peel off those layers so that I won't be putting up walls for people, guarding my little ego, guarding my little hurts, my little heart, so that I won't feel that again? I need to accept it. So I accept those negative emotions. I accept those things that sort of kind of keep me often going back to revisit a very dark period in my life. After we accept them, the next thing that we are going to do is awareness. Now, when I talk about awareness, in the context that I'm referring to is awareness is about the feeling that it makes me feel, whether it's depression, whether it's anger, whether it's bitterness, whether it's hatred, whether it's despondency. I have to be aware of that. Okay. I have to be aware. I have to be aware. Every time I feel that feeling, I have to be aware of what I am feeling. You've got to know what you're thinking and what you're feeling every time you feel that way. Like, I cannot say it enough. Like, I have a problem when folk try to discount how I feel, as if I don't have a right to feel what I feel. They brush it off as nothing. They brush it off as insignificant. They brush it off as unimportant. I have a problem with that, because though it may not be that major to you, it's that major to me. If it put me in a negative mindset, if it's got me thinking negatively, then it's a big deal. And I need to be aware of that so that I can nip it in the bud. I need to nip it in the bud. After I'm aware of it, the only logical thing to do to snap out of that feeling and know that this is a process, okay? It is literally a step-by-step process. After I am aware of what I'm feeling, after I accept it, after I deal with it and acknowledge it, I have to replace those negative feelings with something positive. Now, let me tell you, I will be the first to tell you that is easier than it sounds, especially when you're in that moment, especially when your little heart is hurting, especially when you're depressed. But it can be done. It's a conscious effort, guys. You have to make a conscious effort to replace those negative feelings, those negative beliefs about yourself with something good. You have to make a conscious effort to make to turn it something negative into something good. Denise says embracing the situation is the same as acknowledging. Yes, yeah, you acknowledge it and you accept it for what it is, because it's a real situation. You don't downplay it or you ignore it, because I can promise you, Denise, it's going to resurface. At some point, it's going to resurface. Have you ever seen situations where something happens, especially with in relationships, especially couples or close friendships, how you get mad, y'all never talk about it, and then 2 or 3 months later, it was swept under the rug, and then 2 or 3 months later, you come out, you're arguing about this one thing, and then all of a sudden, all of that stuff comes. That's what happens when you don't embrace that in the moment, when you don't embrace that feeling. Acknowledge what you're feeling, embrace it, accept it as it because it's a real feeling. Accept it, and then be able to replace those negative thoughts and feelings with something positive. Catherine says, good afternoon. I would like to know and learn, how do I turn my pain into purpose? I think this whole process, Catherine, what we're talking about is a way to turn your pain into purpose. First of all, acknowledging that there is pain there is the first step. Then you accept that whatever that pain makes you feel, whether it's depression or whether it's aggravation or bitterness or hatred, you accept that. But then as you become aware of what you're thinking, every time those feelings pop up, you're like, man, it's that one situation that I can't seem to pass. You've got to start replacing that negativity. Once you're healed on the inside, then I think your purpose is revealed on the outside. That's what has to happen. Your purpose has to be revealed on the outside, but it can't happen until the healing takes place on the inside. Hey, Myron, so glad you could join us today. It's a great topic, my brother. I am on a mission to practice turning and changing poison into medicine. Absolutely. And it is a choice. We get to determine how things affect us. We get to determine what happens and how people, I think we give situations and people too much power to determine how we feel and what we feel. But in all actuality, we are in control of it. We are in control of how we feel and what we feel for every situation. The last thing is after we acknowledge, accept, after we deal with the awareness of it, and then we replace it. The last thing is repetition. Now, what is repetition? I'm going to tell you. Repetition is taking those positive thoughts that you have replaced the negative ones with, and you say it over and over until it has taken root in your mind, in your spirit, in your subconscious. You know, again, like if somebody tells you that you won't ever be anything in the heat of an argument, they'll tell you, I hate you and you'll never be anything. And that stuff is playing over. And every time you think about that situation or that argument, it reminds you, it brings hatred and that bitterness. But if you take the time to replace those feelings of bitterness and hatred with something positive, like I am somebody. I was somebody before I met that person. I'm somebody after I met that person. And then you've got to repeat that. You've got to tell yourself that over and over. I am somebody. It's almost like making affirmations. It's making affirmations about yourself. But before those affirmations can take root, you have to say it over and over. You've got to break the negative cycle and replace it with the positive cycle. And to Myron's point, that's how you turn poison into medicine. You know, one of the best things that you can do for someone you view as an enemy is to rise above the situation. And, you know, I was always taught you kill them with kindness. And, you know, again, what I wasn't taught was that the kindness had to first start in me. Otherwise, it's going to be superficial, it's going to be fake. But once that healing, once that kindness starts in me and I allow it as medicine, to your point, Myron, if I allow it as medicine to heal me, then my love, my everything is genuine, my kindness is genuine, even to the person that I considered as being the villain that hurt me or that keeps putting me back in this place. You know, one of the things that over the week I've tried to make sure I employ, and not just this week, but in the last few months, I had to realize how much control I was in over me. I had to realize that, but the way I realized that was first realizing how much control I had given other people. On the days that I was happy, I looked and see what made me happy. What made me happy? On the days that I was frustrated, what frustrated me? On the days or the minutes that I was angry, what did that? And I realized that it was situations that I had given power to. And at the very moment of acknowledging how I was feeling, at the very moment of saying that person was the one that made, I had to realize I should have never given that person that much power in the first place. So it was a choice. It was a choice to give that situation or that person that much power. So I had to end up taking it back. And when I decided to take the power back and be in control of me, I realized that I didn't need a happening to make me happy or a happening to frustrate me. I got to choose before I ever got out of bed that morning what kind of day I was going to have. I got to choose to wake up every morning to be the best version of myself without the need of validation from anybody else. And that's all I'm trying to get you to see. Myron said this, I said it before and I'll say it again. You can't be pitiful and powerful at the same time. Absolutely. When I'm pitiful, I'm the worst victim. I'm a fork tender with self pity. When I am powerful, I'm a conqueror. I don't call myself a cancer survivor. I call myself a cancer conqueror. Absolutely. And that is it. The more you wallow in self pity, the more that is what it takes root. It takes root, and it's hard to get out of that. It's hard to get out of self pity. That's a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous hole. I've always said that self pity is the breeder of depression. Self pity, being that victim and having that victim's mentality, is what take you down a rabbit hole that sometimes most people don't ever get to come out of again. So I think that when you take control back of the kind of day, now don't get me wrong, there are going to be some difficult days that come in every one of our lives. There are going to be times and periods where you want to give up. But I promise you, if you maintain control through these five things: acknowledgement, acceptance, awareness, repetition, and replacement, all of these things, I promise you, it will change your life because it puts the control in your hand and not in somebody else's hand. I'm not saying discount what you feel. I'm telling you to acknowledge what you feel. If somebody pissed you off, be pissed off, but don't stay pissed off. If somebody hurts you, be hurt, but don't give them the power to define you in a moment. Don't let that moment define you. Don't let that moment. When you do, it really changes at that very moment the trajectory of your life. I promise you. If you let a moment and you never get over it, you never get past it, you never accept it, you never acknowledge it, you never replace those negative feelings, I promise you, the trajectory of the life you were intended to have will completely change. So you want to maintain that control. Catherine says, is there something necessarily wrong with a person if their emotions are like a roller coaster? Um, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with your emotions being a roller coaster. I think that you would have to determine what has your emotions in a roller coaster state. And if it's other people, if it's outside situations, if it's uh, whatever, other people, then you have to take control and stabilize those roller coaster emotions. I don't think it's wrong to have emotional roller coasters or being on an emotional roller coaster. I do think it's wrong to stay on it. We all go through that ebb and flow. We all go through those days where we're up and down. But I think that we have the power to determine, are we going to stay up or are we going to stay down? That's where the power comes in. That's where you being able to control you comes in. You can't control what anybody else thinks. You can't control what anybody else do. You can't control what anybody else says. All you can control is you. When you give up your power to situations or other people, then you're at their mercy. But when you stay in control, when you know who you are and stay in control, other people's opinions about you, what they think, what they do, what they say, it really is irrelevant to you because you're on this high. You're on this, like, you know what? I got this. I got me. I love me. Yes, it was a bad day today, but I still love me. I got a little frustrated. I got a little outside of character today, but guess what? I'm back now. I didn't stay there. And that was a choice. I chose not to stay there. I could have stayed there. I could have made it last a whole day. I could have made it last a whole evening or whatever, but I chose to take control of my emotions, of my feelings, and I replaced that negative jump with something positive. I replaced it with something positive. I know my value. I know my worth. I know my potential. I know my purpose. And I know that if I am going to be the best version of me, I've got to stay in control of me. I don't care what goes on outside. The only reason that it's going on outside of me is because I let it go on inside of me first. So when I get me under control, when I stabilize me, when I replace all of that negative stuff with positive stuff, then only positive can come into my life experience. So that's what you've got to understand, that the only person that you can change, that you can be, is the best version of yourself. So why not? Why not? These are simple, acknowledgement, awareness, acceptance, replacement, and repetition. It's that simple. 5 little things that you can do in every situation. Take a moment to breathe, go through, listen. That boss of mine just really got under my skin. I accept how I feel. I'm really pissed right now. I'm really bitter right now, but I'm going to replace that with a positive attitude and a positive feeling. And I'm going to go back out and I'm going to go in his face and I'm just going to let him know that I'm cool. I'm cool. You get to choose that. Every single day, you get to choose that. That's the power you have over you. Every single day, you get to use that and you get to choose it. So, my encouragement to you is to be the best version of you. Be the best version of you. You only have one life. Make it the best. You don't get a do-over, so make it the best. Wake up every day declaring to yourself, today I am going to be the healthiest version of me. I'm going to be the wealthiest version of me. I'm going to be the happiest version of me. I'm going to be the most carefree version of me. I'm going to be the most structured version. That's the power. You get to dictate how you live your day, how you live your life. I promise you, all of that power is yours. And it's up to you to tap into that power. If you don't, you can't blame nobody but yourself. Appreciate you guys. That's my 2 cents worth for today. I really do appreciate you so much. Thank you guys for participating and interacting with me. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Listen, next week, if you want to be a part of our Zoom where we all can see each other and sit in and have some of that dialogue going on back and forth, and just getting everybody's thoughts. I love facial expressions. I love to see that's how I know what you're really thinking. So I'm going to ask you, if you want it, reach out to me. Let me know. You can DM me in Facebook. If you go to SFC, you find Facebook page. You can DM there. Let us know. We're going to post the Zoom link on both my page, the SFC page, and you can also go to CoreyAGraves.com and let us know. So we'll get all. You got so many ways. Send us your email. Make sure you have your email. That's the perfect way to subscribe. That way you can be in the know when we get ready to release a new product, when we get ready to do some things, whether it's a pop-up or a new book release, you'll be the first ones to find all that stuff out. So do me a favor, like and subscribe to this video and share it with some friends. There are people that are hurting and they're depending on you to find information like this, like what we're talking about here, to help them get through a crisis, to help them get through a season or a moment. Don't let them down. All right. So like and subscribe and then share this with other people. All right. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for taking the time. Always remember, be strong, be focused, be confident. Most importantly, be defined in the good way. Talk to you next week.